Hello there. Today I'll be talking about static shots and animations and how to spice them up. There are many reasons for motionless frames ending up in a final render, but whatever the animator's circumstances, there are a few tricks that won't take too long, give some life to your shot, and make it look less like a JPEG or PowerPoint purgatory. Just to be clear, by static shots or frames, I mean scenes in motion graphics and animations with no animation. Static shots are bad because they cause viewers to get bored and consequently lead to lower view engagement, comprehension, audience retention, and most importantly, it's a waste opportunity to do something interesting. These tips may seem obvious, but when you're racing the clock and you don't want your animation to look like a glorified textbook, they can be lifesavers. Let's get into some tips to keep those moss and cobwebs out of your scenes. Let's start with bullet points. When bringing in individual points, please, for the love of all that is good, do not bring them all in at once. Animate them in according to the voiceover as they are needed. We don't want to give the viewer a paragraph to read while the voiceover talks over it. We want to guide them through the content. When your voiceover refers to one of the points again, pulsate the point in a way that fits your style guide. You can use various methods of pulsating like scaling, opacity, highlights, etc. The same goes for icons. One at a time. If we bring them all in at once, we run the risk of distracting the viewer with our cool graphics while important content is being discussed. Keep those suckers centered and move them when needed. Don't be afraid to animate the details within your icons, and when one of them is being discussed again, tell the viewer where to look using the pulsating tools we just learned. When it comes to scenes where the voiceover is too long for the given assets and it's proving quite dull, there are a few tools you can use to kill the static. Slow zooms, in or out, that's a no-brainer. Are there any reflector surfaces in the scene? Add the occasional light reflection on those. If time allows, add a rotation on the subject matter. This can be a 2.5D or 4D or even actual 3D. Add some nuances. If someone else made the graphics, chat to them about details you can add to cater for the longer scenes. If you implement all these points and it's still too static, you can try adding an Amazonian river dolphin. The same goes for objects. Add those slow zooms. Reflective surfaces get light reflections. When possible, add a steady 2.5D or 4D or actual 3D rotation throughout the scene and add some extra details and nuances. And then if it's still on the dull side, an Amazonian river dolphin. When you're deceasing static frames, it's important to remember these three rules. 1. When you encounter static shots, they shouldn't be longer than 2 seconds. Don't overwhelm or distract the viewer. You don't want to bore them, but you also don't want to overstimulate them and rob them of comprehending the content. 3. Once again, as a last resort, and I cannot recommend this enough, an Amazonian river dolphin. So, there you go. Leave your tips for killing static in the comments and I'll add it to the list. Till next time, happy animating.